KOMU 8's Decision 2024 election coverage starts now.
Well, voters in mid-Missouri headed to the polls today for the municipal elections. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Evie Allen.
And I'm Taylor Freeman. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We've got team coverage tonight with reporters spread out across the region. They're covering the key races and issues you need to know about, from a recall vote in Columbia to city council races in Jefferson City. But first up, Proposition 1 in Boone County. If approved, it would freeze tax rates on property taxes for eligible seniors, and there are strong opinions on both sides. We begin our live team coverage with KOMU 8's Paige Porter live in our downtown newsroom. Let's go to Paige.
Yes, this proposition has caused a lot of controversy regarding the financial impact to schools and libraries. Many school districts and others in the county have expressed concern about the loss in revenue if it passes. Now, the driving force behind Proposition 1 is Senate Bill 190, which was passed by Governor Mike Parson in last summer. Now, but counties still have to approve property tax breaks. I talked to one Boone County commissioner and one Missouri House representative today, and they both are watching how this plays out today.
The impact on the county is very little. And again, it comes down to the schools that are the ones that are going to feel it. CPS has estimated a huge impact.
The political subdivisions will lose no money because this would only be for future increases. And this would only affect probably less than 10% of Boone County's population, and it's an opt-in. So people that want to not take the freeze, they don't have to take the freeze.
Now, KOMU will be watching as the results come in tonight. Reporting from downtown in the newsroom, Paige Porter, KOMU 8 News.
All right, thank you, Paige. Well, turning now to the race for Columbia City Council. We're following several races, including the 2nd Ward, where a new representative will be elected to City Council. So let's get right over to KOMU 8's Siobhan Harms. She's live from City Hall with a look at that race. Siobhan.
Evie, Taylor, Columbia City Council members serve 3-year terms. This year, Ward 2 and Ward 6 are on the ballot. For Ward 2, there are 2 candidates who are actually on the ballot, and there's 1 candidate running as a write-in. Lisa Meyer is a real estate professional with over a decade of experience. During her campaign, she's advocated for safety and infrastructure initiatives. Robert Schreiber III describes himself as the, quote, blue-collar candidate. He's a maintenance worker for the University of Missouri, and he says he's hoping to use his experience in maintenance and construction to help address housing issues in Columbia. Lucio Batoy IV is the write-in candidate. He works with the Missouri Department of Social Services in Boone County. Batoy says he would like to make Columbia more inclusive while also working on addressing poverty and affordable housing. The Ward 6 Columbia City Council seat is also on the ballot today. Betsy Peters is running unopposed for that seat, and she's the longest serving member of the Columbia City Council. Live in Columbia, Siobhan Harms, KOMU 8 News.
All right, thanks, Siobhan. Well, Columbia's 1st Ward City Councilman Nick Knoth is up for a recall vote. Several months after he was elected, he took a lobbyist position for Missouri Realtors. Some 1st Ward residents took issue with this, but Knoth denies any conflict of interest. He says he has not taken any vote or policy stance that is contrary to the interests of the 1st Ward.
Now to the race for the Columbia Public School Board. KOMU 8's Kate Devine joins us live from CPS headquarters on Worley Street with a look at the candidates. Kate.
Yes, Evie, there are 3 candidates and 2 open seats, which means 2 out of the 3 candidates will walk away as board members today. Jeannie Snodgrass, Alvin Cobbins, and John Potter are in the spotlight, each vying for your support. Snodgrass, the incumbent running for her 2nd term, emphasizes fairness and transparency. Cobbins, a first-time board candidate, prioritizes rebuilding trust and enhancing reading proficiency. And Potter, a 2nd-time board candidate, is campaigning for stricter cell phone policies and diversified board representation. Each member will serve a 3-year term. Tune in at 9 and 10 for more election coverage. Live in Columbia, Kate Devine, KOMU 8 News.
Thanks, Kate. Every ward in Jefferson City has an open seat for City Council tonight. KOMU 8's John Murphy joins us live from a polling location there. And John, well, that's normal for them, isn't it?
That's right. Here in Jefferson City, everyone gets to vote for a city council member every year. Now, actually, a lady just left the polling center here in the 5th Ward at McClung Park, and she said she was only the 318th vote, so low voter turnout so far. Now, let's go ahead and pull up a graphic that shows all of the different wards here in Jefferson City. And how Jeff City works is each ward has 2 council members, and they each serve 2-year terms, but they're elected on opposite years, so one is up for election every cycle. 2nd Ward Councilman Mike Lester is the only person running unopposed. There are no incumbents in the 3rd and 5th wards, so there will be at least 2 new council members. Now, I spoke to the candidate from the 5th, or one of the candidates from the 5th ward here, and she says she's happy that even if she loses, a young woman will be on the council from her ward. Take a listen.
It's a really exciting opportunity for Ward 5 to have 2 relatively young people. You might notice that some of the folks on council are not necessarily my age, and I think it's really exciting that we have two young people running.
Now, I'll be back at 6 o'clock to break down these Jefferson City elections again, and then live at 9 and 10 with results. For now, live in Jefferson City, John Murphy, KOMU 8 News.
Looks like you guys are trying to stay warm out there. We're seeing some very chilly temperatures across central Missouri right now. Many of us are sitting in the middle 40s across the region. We go ahead and take a look at those current temperatures. Right now it is 44 degrees in Columbia, 47 is the current temperature in Jefferson City. Many of us sitting in those lower to middle 40s, 43 right now in Moberly, 41 in Paris through Vandalia, and 45 degrees at the Lake of the Ozarks. We actually saw some warmer temperatures earlier this morning. If you were out about 6, 7 o'clock, we're seeing temperatures for many of us in the upper to middle 50s, potentially even the low 60s. And then we had a really sharp decrease in temperatures as we headed through those late morning into the afternoon hours. Most of the afternoon spent in the 40s. Now, we do have some good news, though, as we continue through the rest of this week. We're starting a warming trend. Still a couple of chilly days for Wednesday and Thursday, but we're back into the 60s by Friday, even the upper 60s by the end of the weekend. I'll have more details in my full forecast.
All right, thank you, Kesley. World Central Kitchen paused operations in Gaza today after an Israeli airstrike killed 7 of its aid workers. The workers were traveling in 2 armored cars emblazoned with the WCK logo and another vehicle at the time. The aid organization says despite coordinating movements with the Israeli Defense Force, the convoy was hit after uploading more than 100 tons of food aid. The U.S. Secretary of State called the workers who died heroes.
We shouldn't have a situation where people who are simply trying to help their fellow human beings are themselves at grave risk.
The IDF says it will investigate the incident. Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel will do everything to ensure it does not happen again. President Joe Biden is expected to host a scaled-down iftar dinner at the White House to commemorate Ramadan. It comes as tensions between the administration and Arab and Muslim American communities rise over the Israel-Hamas war. Sources say several people invited to the dinner declined, citing frustration with the administration's support of Israel. In Islam, iftar dinners are the breaking of the daily fast after sundown during the month of Ramadan.
And a fire broke out at an Istanbul nightclub last night, killing 29 people in an apartment building above. At least 8 more people were injured, 7 of them in serious condition. The nightclub was closed for renovations. Officials detained 5 people for questioning.
Coming up, a man wakes up to an unpleasant surprise after heavy storms.
Plus, the price tag for the city's plan to combat CPD staffing shortages.
And we're looking to see some very windy conditions tomorrow. If you don't tie down or bring inside any loose furniture or items, may end up down the street. We're expecting winds gusting upwards of 45 miles per hour. I'll have a closer look at your Wednesday ahead in just a few more minutes.
But first, take a live look over downtown Columbia. This is KOMU 8 News at 5, coverage you can count on. Here's what's happening right now. And what may be the biggest issue in Missouri in today's election, some Kansas City voters are being sent away from the polls. Jackson County voters are deciding whether to reapprove the stadium sales tax Funding would help build a new baseball stadium downtown, but the committee to keep the Chiefs and Royals says some voters are being turned away for wearing Royals and Chiefs gear to polling places.
A storm in St. Louis left several cars submerged and one man rescued from his tractor trailer. The driver was sleeping in his truck when water started rushing into the cab. Emergency crews went out in a boat to rescue the driver. The storm also left over 1,000 people without power.
I was sleeping last night and I woke up like 2 a.m. and I saw the water around me, my truck, and I tried to open the door, but the water was touching my door a little bit.
Oh man, the heavy storms were part of a system that swept across the central and eastern parts of the country earlier today, putting more than 30 million people under a severe weather threat.
Well, up next, the city approves a plan to help entice and retain officers to the police department.
Plus, we're seeing much cooler air moving into mid-Missouri than what we saw yesterday. In fact, we are currently 25 degrees cooler than we were just 24 hours ago. But good news is we're on a warming trend through the rest of the week ahead. I'll let you know more details up next.
Columbia police officers could be seeing a raise soon. Columbia City Council approved at their meeting yesterday pay increases to hourly wages across the department.
KOMU 8's Nathan Lee joins us in the studio with what officers can expect in the coming weeks. Nathan.
Taylor, Evie, it's all about pay compression. Now, when the city raised their starting wages across the department, that lowered the total range of pay from officers just starting out to seasoned officers on the job. Now, city officials say Monday's change was not only the first step in fair treatment across CPD, but also a step towards easing a staffage shortage.
We made a commitment to employees to come back and address that, and these changes allowed us to do that.
The Columbia City Council. The changes are expected to go into effect for officers on April 14th of this year. Now, as of now, only officers represented by the Columbia Police Officers Association will see the increase. In the studio, Nathan Lee, KOMU 8 News.
Well, that same low pressure system that did bring us severe weather yesterday is this weekend in the 70s, heading into the beginning of next week.
All right, thank you, Kesley. Coming up, the price of your checked bag could depend on when you're traveling.
Ahead for us, new underwater imagery reveals the challenges below for the bridge cleanup in Baltimore. And our Bible classes for elementary public school students blurring the line between church and state. That story and more on Nightly News.
Tesla posted its first annual drop in sales since the pandemic. The company reports its worldwide sales fell 8.5% in the first quarter. The delivery volume was far below expectations. Tesla blamed factory shutdowns due to problems getting parts from China to Europe.
Well, JetBlue's checked bag fees now vary based on when you fly. The price of a first checked bag now ranges from $35 to $50, depending on whether your travel dates are peak or off-peak. Peak dates include about half the year, including the summer travel season and rates around Thanksgiving and Christmas. Well, pet owners flying on American Airlines can now bring a full-size carry-on in addition to a pet carrier. Passengers bringing a small pet on board can either have their second bag be a small personal item or a larger bag. The airline's $150 pet fee is still the same, and animals must remain in their carriers, even if they're adorable.
And we'll have one more check on your forecast next. Recapping our top story, municipal election day is winding down, but you still have about an hour and a half to make your vote count.
That's right. And in Boone County, voters are deciding whether to freeze property taxes for senior citizens.
And voters in Columbia's Ward 2 are selecting a new city council member, while voters in the first ward are considering a council member recall.
Columbia is also selecting 2 school board members.
And in Jefferson City, each seat on the city council is up for grabs in the nonpartisan election.
And as we head into early tomorrow morning, we do have the potential to see a few snow flurries next week.
All right, great. So no more severe weather this week.
No more severe weather this week.
We like that. All right, we'll see you back here at 6.